Section 5.2 is all about congruence and triangles and being able to tell whether two triangles are congruent to each other or not. Now remember, congruent means that things are the same. Congruent means that every part of everything is the exact same. If you see twins, you could say that twins look alike, right? You could say that brothers and sisters look alike, but they are not the exact same in every single instance, right? But if I take these two pens, for example, these two pens are completely interchangeable. They're both red, they both have the exact same markings, they both have the exact same length and size and weight, and everything about them is the exact same. So since they are the exact same, I would call them congruent to each other. Now that's something to think about, okay? There's a difference between two things being similar and two things being congruent. So again, if I do this, and I show you that one of these pens is red and one of these pens is black, these two pens are similar because they're very, very close. They're just different colors. So they're not the exact same. Two things are able to look a lot alike and not be exactly the same. But in this case, we are talking about things that have to be the exact same through and through. All angles are the same. All sides are the same. Everything about them is the exact same. So
Mr. Jeff,
yes.
Are you writing something down right now?
Not yet. Nope, not yet.
My bad.
So as we work through, hopefully you guys can kind of understand that as two things are the exact same, we can start to call them congruent to each other. All right, that's the idea, or that's the thing that we really, really want to have happen. Okay, so as we work through, we're going to notice that the first definition for us is congruent figures. 99% of the time that we're going to be working in geometry, we're going to be talking about triangles. 99% of the time. All right. Now that being said, sometimes we'll have a square or a pentagon or a rectangle or something that pops up. But most of the time we're going to be talking about triangles. So with a triangle, with a congruent figure, it's saying that all parts of one figure, all parts of one figure are congruent to the corresponding parts of the other figure. So what that means is that everything that looks like it's the same is the same if the two figures are congruent. So if the two figures are congruent to each other, that means that this side is the same exact thing as this side. It means that this side is the same as this side, and it means that this side is the same as this side. It also means that all of the angles are going to be the same. So every part of these is the same. So this angle will be the same as this angle. This angle would be the same as this angle, and this angle would be the same as this angle. So it's saying that all of the angles are the same. Notice how not all of the angles are the same as each other, but all of the corresponding angles are the same. So this angle and this angle, the right angle and the right angle are the same. The top angle and the top angle are the same. The left angle and the left angle are the same. Same exact thing with all of the sides. All of them are the same. All right. If I can show that every single piece of every single thing you're looking at is the same, then I can say that the two figures are congruent to each other. All right. So as we work through, basically that's it for the new stuff. Now what I want to do is, it's saying write a congruent statement for the two polygons, and then write down everything that's congruent to each other. So what I'm looking at is, in my picture, the first thing it wants me to do is to write a congruent statement. So I'm going to write down in big words over here what a congruent statement actually is. So a congruent statement is a, I guess you could call it kind of like a sentence. So it's a mathematical sentence that puts letters from one shape in the exact same spot as another shape. So you see over here how I have two shapes. You see how this one starts out and it tells me I want GEI to be the order that I go in. So it's telling me what order, and I'm going to put that over here as well. It's really talking about the order of the letters. So the order of the letters is already given to me as GEI. Now, as I look at this picture up here, I can see that every single thing is marked the same. G is the same as M because there's 2 lines for each. E is the same as Q because there's 3 lines for each. And I is the same as O because there's 1 line for each. I can see EI is the same as QO. I can see that GE is the same as MQ. And I can see that GI is the same as MO. That's based on how many tick marks I see and everything. Now, what the congruent statement wants me to do is it wants me to put every single thing in the same exact spot. So you see how G and M are in the same locations? So I'm going to say triangle M because G comes first, so M should come first. Then it goes from G to E, so it should go M to Q. And then the last one is GE to I, so MQ to O. The congruent statement looks like this. If you write it as triangle OQM, this is wrong. You can't do that. You have to put everything in the same order that it's already supposed to be in. So in this case, G comes first, so M should come first. E comes first, so Q should come first. And I comes first, so O should come first. All right. Now what it wants us to do is label all of the angles that are corresponding. So I'm going to label angle G, angle E, and angle I. And I'm going to say that those are congruent to the angles on the other triangle. G goes with M, so angle G is congruent to angle M. E goes with Q, so angle E is congruent to angle Q. Then I have I is in the same spot as O, so angle I is congruent to angle O. Now the side lengths, all I'm going to do is look at my first triangle. So I'm going to say side GE, I'm going to have side EI, and I'm going to have side GI. So now I have my congruent statements. And now all I'm going to do is make sure that everything is in the same order. G to E, so M to Q. Then I have E to I, which is the same as Q to O. And then the last one, G to I, so M to O. And that's what we're doing today. That's essentially what is going on. We're just making sure that we can put things in the right order and in the right spot. All right? That is congruent figures. That's what congruent figures means. So as we work through these specific examples, what we're doing is we're just trying to say what is congruent to what and how are they congruent? Are they congruent? Are they not congruent? So on and so forth. Okay? Now I'm going to leave these two to you because I want you to kind of think about something. All right? I want you to try these and I want you to try your best to make them work. Now that being said, if I look at one like this, notice what's kind of happening. One of my triangles is turning upside down. You have to be able to pick this up in your head and figure out kind of what's going on. Now these two things share a line, so I could really draw it like that and put a line of 3 in there. But what I would do if it were me is I would redraw my picture to make it so that it's easy to look at. So like if I'm looking at this figure down here, this LMN, if I'm looking at LMN, what I've got with LMN is I've got this picture here, LMN, right? So I've got L and I've got M and I've got N. So I've got L, M, N. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take this exact same picture and I'd try to like to turn it. So that way in my head, it makes as much sense as it does on the sheet of paper. So what I would do is I would say, okay, see how N has one little congruent mark here and L has one little congruent mark here? That means I could put N at the top. And then it goes from N to K. And I'm going to draw the same exact picture because I know that they're going to be congruent to each other. But now N is in the same spot as L was up here. So N is in the same spot as L was up here. So N goes right there. K is in the same spot as M. And then this last one is L. So what I could do now is just copy my pictures exactly. So I have L and N. And then this one had 3 marks. This one had 3 marks. And then this one had 2 marks. All right. And then now I can do the same thing with my lines. So I have 3, and I have 3, and then I have 1 and 1, and then I have 2 and 2. And now I should be able to go through and label exactly what's going on. So if I have KLN, notice how this one is the only one that has KLN. KLN goes from bottom to left to top. So my next one should go from bottom to left to top. So it should be MLN. MNL. So bottom, left, top, bottom, left, top. But you see how this took a little bit of a startup time for me because I actually had to take a little bit of time to try to get it set up. All right. So it took me a little bit of time to try to look at it and get it figured out before I moved on to solving the actual question that it asked me to do. So I'm going to leave this part for you guys down here. I want you guys to try this one on your own. This one's a little bit trickier, so I want you to try it. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to try to answer these, okay? I want you to try to answer these 6. Don't worry about anything on the back. We'll talk about stuff on the back tomorrow. That'll be one of our things tomorrow that we talk about. I want you guys to try the front. So you have 1.5 problems right here to do, and you have 6 problems right here to do, and you've got 13 minutes to do so, all right? So I will be here if you guys have questions. I will be here if you guys have issues. Please make sure that you stop and ask or say something if you need any help.